Okay, welcome back to the boardroom. Today we're going to take a close look at the trenched canted riser. This is it right here. 3 degrees of cant, about 10 millimeters thick at the thin end and 24 millimeters thick at the thick end. The side with the slots is for goofy as marked. So if you're goofy, it's that side up. If you're regular, it's flat side up. They are intended to go with heel lift in the back foot and toe lift in the front foot. And that's going to give you a much more comfortable and aggressive position when you're in a posy stance. These are not intended for duck stances, or if you have 0 degrees in the back foot, this is not for you. This is for, let's say, 9 degrees in the back foot at least, and whatever goes along with that, 24 to 30 in the front. This season I'm riding about 18 in the back foot and 30 in the front foot, 27 sometimes. And these cants make a huge difference to the comfort and the power that I have in my board. Plus I get some lift, which reduces boot out and gives me more leverage over my edge, which increases the power. This video is intended to be how to install, so let's look at that right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my binding as I would normally, and I'm going to set it exactly where I want it on my board, just like that. And then I'm going to mark it with a pencil so that I can line everything up by pencil. It's way easier than figuring out how to put tiny marks in this little interface disc. So I have my binding exactly where I want it at 18 degrees. I'm going to run this straight edge straight down the center of my binding. I'm going to mark it at the back near the edge, and I'm going to mark it at the front near the edge, just like that. If you don't like marking up your board, by all means use some painter's tape. It's really easy to pull off after. You don't have to disassemble anything. That's step one. Now you'll grab your interface and your riser. This is my back foot. I'm goofy, so it's going to go with the lift in the heel, and the disc has 4 different ways it can sit in there. You're going to want to make sure the highest part of the interface disc meets up with the high end of the canted riser, okay? And you just feel around, make sure that the metal is not higher than the plastic at any point. If you have that, your riser is going to come loose, your whole system is going to come loose. It's quite easy, just make sure that you're there. Now, where's my center holes here? Right there, boom. Where's my pencil marks? There and there. That's it, just like that. And then I'm going to drop in the screws that come with the risers. No problem. Except I did actually have a little difficulty sourcing the exact screws that I needed. I managed to get a bag of 100, but that's all I can get. They're back ordered for another month. I literally spent hours combing every site on the internet for some screws that would work for me, and came up flat. So what I did instead is I bought some little washers, and I've included them with the kit. So if you're lucky and you get the bolts with the hex heads, that's a 12 millimeter bolt head. That's perfect. That will fit every board. If you get the Phillips screws and the washers, you're good to go. It's not a problem at all. But oops, you are gonna want to make sure to use the washers. I included a few extras because they're tiny and easy to lose. But on most boards, actually, you won't even need the washers. You only need them if your board thickness is low. How do you know if your board thickness is low? 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, you're going to feel bumps on your base. Number 2, when you start to ride, that whole binding is going to turn a little bit, okay? But if you use the washers, it's going to fit every board. Don't worry about it. So now that is in place and tight. I do have about 3 degrees of play on the plastic, between the plastic and the metal, and there's a reason for that we're going to look at in a second. The reason is because now when I put this binding back, of course the holes don't line up. Now I need to adjust my center disc to line up with the 4 binding mounting holes on the metal interface. So I just do that by eye. And that's not quite right. I'm going to need 3 degrees clockwise. Right there. That should do it. And then, yeah, that's perfect. And then because your binding discs only install in 3 degree increments, that's why we left that space in the between the plastic riser and the metal interface, so that you can adjust to have everything exactly pointing the direction you want it, and everything lining up perfectly spaced on your board. And then the binding just installs as normal, no problem at all. Okay, before you tighten them, you can just take a second to double check your pencil lines and double check that the binding is sitting right centered on your cant. And tighten them up, you're good to go, that's it. A little more information, if you have a particularly narrow board or small feet, feel free to just cut off some of the toe. You can see, for example, these are a medium size, actually, I'm sorry, these are the large size flow bindings, and the cant is longer than the binding, so that's not necessary. So it's extra weight you don't need, and if you have a narrower board, you might be dragging a little bit. So, you know, feel free liberally to just cut some off. This is basically just a spacer. This just holds the binding up. The interface does all the work. That's all where all the connection is. Yeah, I think that's about it. This is a rare and unique product, and we're the only ones selling them right now. There's been a lot of interest. I've shipped already 10. I haven't even listed them on the website yet, and we only bought 50. So get yours now. Next year we will have more, but 50 sets is about all we're going to do for this season. Enjoy.